Hey folks, second video of the night. We're going to talk about your next essay number 2, history report on a local battle before Gettysburg. A lot of the instructions are the same as your last essay, but this one is a history report, which makes it slightly different. Uh, your instructions are pretty simple. Create an organized essay with an introduction that includes a thesis statement. We talked about a thesis statement last time. A minimum of 3 body paragraphs and a conclusion. The body paragraphs should each include a minimum of 1 direct quotation or paraphrase of a reliable research source. After a direct quotation or paraphrase, cite your source within parentheses. Following your conclusion, list your sources on a works cited page that is in MLA formatting. I prefer that you submit this as a word process document, but you may also handwrite it legibly on lined paper and submit pictures of your work. Guys, it's super easy to submit work on Google Classroom. You go to the assignment and look in the upper right corner. It lets you upload a document. It could be a Word document, it could be a Google document, it could be a picture. Any of those things are fine. Please don't submit it in other ways by copying it into the chat or anything like that. It makes it really difficult for me to grade it. And really, it's much easier for you and much easier for me if we all write it as a document and submit it the way the classroom is designed to. If you have questions about that, let me know. But there is a document. I will attach it to this lecture that goes through and has screenshots of how to submit assignment on Google Classroom. It's not as hard as you think. You know, these online education formats, every one of them is a little different, and you have to learn how to do it. And that's part of being a student in the modern day. So you guys can do that. And if you have questions, talk to me, and I will help you submit it correctly. Where was I? I prefer that you submit this as a word process document, but you may also handwrite it legibly on lined paper and submit pictures of your work. You are reminded of the need for proper English grammar and clear presentation in your answers. Next, you will see a highlighted bit. Please use my comments on your first paper to help you write this paper. Your goal is improvement. At the end of the day, that's the whole goal of the class. Yes, I want you to learn a little bit about the Civil War. Yes, I want you to become familiar with modern language association format and how to write a research paper, but you should be getting better at writing and organizing and thinking about writing and thinking about organizing and how to plan your paper. You will only improve if you push yourself. You are going to get out of this class what you put into this class. If you put the minimum into this class, you are going to get the minimum out of this class. I am going to give you good feedback. I'm going to write all over your papers, and then I am going to record a video for you that will talk to you about the things that you can improve. Watch it. Watch it a couple of times. After you finish this paper, go watch it again and make some changes. That's how you improve. It's just like anything else. The only way to get better at writing is to write. That's it. The only way to get better at running is to run. The only way to get better at swimming is to swim. The only way to get better at shooting baskets is to shoot baskets. And the only way to get better at Smash Bros is to play more Smash Bros. I mean, this is not rocket science. We just have to do it. And so your goal is improvement. Make yourself better every time. That's how you get good at something. It doesn't magically happen. It happens because you put effort into it. All right, I'm going to shut up about that. All right, so essay number 2, history report on a local battle before Gettysburg. Again, local to me means Virginia, West Virginia, or Maryland. We're not looking at any far distant battles out in the West or anywhere like that. So a history report is one that provides a detailed chronological, that means in the order that events happened, description of a historical event with research-based analysis about why events turned out the way they did. It's not enough to say, hey, these things happened. You have to use your research skills to figure out why these things happened. And you have to communicate why these things happened to your reader. That's what makes it interesting to your reader. If you don't make an attempt to assess the why, then you might as well just be writing a history book, right? And what we're looking for is an essay. We're looking for an analytical essay. So the essay is structured chronologically in body paragraphs and concludes with a final analysis. There's a couple of different ways to structure your body paragraphs in this essay. The easiest way is to try and prioritize events like cause and effect. What happened and what was the effect? and go through the ones that are the most important in the order that they happen and tell the story of what occurred. Another one would be to sort of do beginning, middle, and end. You could look at it sort of, you could break it into chunks and tell it like a story, beginning, middle, and end. And so those are your sort of, I think, the two easiest options for how to structure a history report paper. So you will select and research one battle from the list below. And you can, at the end of the list, it's like pick something else if you want to. You just have to clear it through me. If you're picking something that's not on the list, I need to know so I can make sure that there's enough there for you to write about, or that it's not too big for you to write about. Like, I didn't put the 7 days battles on here because it's too much to write a little paper about. So there are some that I left off because they're too big, and some that I left off because they're too small. So here are some options. You're going to write an essay explaining what happened and why, and come to a logical conclusion about this. Make some sort of a conclusion. Explain to us why this is interesting. What's the impact? And the impact can vary based on your topic. Let's go through a couple of them and talk about them, and maybe sort of I'll give you a hint at some impacts, some kinds of things that could be your so what element as you get into this paper. First one, and I put them chronologically, is the Battle of Hampton Roads. That's the Monitor versus the Merrimack, the first battle of ironclad warships. Your so what element on this might be that this foreshadows the changes in naval tactics and equipment for the next 2 world wars. I mean, that's kind of a big deal. Then we have the Battle of Williamsburg, which is the first real battle of the Peninsula Campaign. It's the first time that 2 well-trained armies fought each other in the Civil War. And I think that's interesting. And worth noting, and maybe that's your so what element there. What comes out of that? Then we have the Battle of First Winchester. That's Jackson soundly defeating Banks. Jackson, the well-trained tactics professor and West Point graduate, versus a political guy from Massachusetts who was Speaker of the House. It's essentially like if just for the sake of argument, Nancy Pelosi put herself in charge of an army and tried to control it and fight without the necessary training. Nothing against her, but without the necessary training required to be a general. Maybe there's something there about experience versus inexperience, and tactics versus going with your gut or whatever. We have the Battle of Seven Pines. That's an important battle because it's the battle in which Johnston, who was the commander of the Army of Virginia, gets very badly wounded, and Lee takes over for him, and that changes the course of the war. What would have happened if Johnston had not gotten injured? How would the war have been different? I think that's an interesting question. We have the Battle of Cedar Mountain. That's where Jackson attacks Pope. That one's right down the road from my house, which is kind of fun. We've been to that battlefield a number of times. We have the Battle of Second Manassas, where Longstreet and Jackson defeat Pope for a second time and very brutally. The Battle of Harper's Ferry, where Jackson stuns Miles. We talked about that one in the lecture earlier today. The Battle of Antietam, which actually takes place in Maryland, where Lee invades the North and faces off against McClellan. The premier showdown between Lee and McClellan. And then Fredericksburg, Burnside leads the Union to his disastrous defeat. You could pick any one of those that you have a particular interest in to do some research. Again, there's lots of ways to do research. My number one suggestion is go to the library, look some stuff up, do some reading. But there's lots of great podcasts on these out there. There's lots of great documentaries on these out there. You can go and you can watch documentaries. Just make sure they're from a reputable source and you're good to go. You can choose something else, but make sure you clear it with me. So if there's something else you really want to do that happens during this time frame, come talk to me. Write me an email. Send me a message, set up a Google Meet, and we can talk it over. I do want to say, just like last time, I don't want to read repeat papers. So once a student selects one of these battles, I am going to cross it off. I will remove it from the list. This is going to be first come, first serve, just like the last one. So if you want to lock in your favorite topic, email me. And whoever's email gets here first is going to get it first. And if yours doesn't, I will let you know. You can also put a second choice on there if you want to make sure that you get one of your top 2 choices. I think that's everything. If you have any questions, shoot me an email. Thanks for your time and attention.